Hey, friends. So today I'm here to talk about executive function development for 10 to 18-year-olds. So let's get started. If you're here, drop me a hello, ask me any questions that I will try to address as we go forward. If you're here for the replay, that's the same, but just let me know you're catching the replay. Just say hey. So this is really, for me, like, this is where it all happens. Um, that 10 to 12 range is when the teen brain is coming in, that language is sophisticated, and things are inconsistent. The brain is still really inconsistent. So what you're seeing is like you're seeing this incongruency, we'll call it, of this more sophisticated language and planning skills and almost like adult like inhibition, but still needing help with reasoning, with anticipation of consequences, with cause and effect, with being able to weigh pros and cons and have that flexible thinking. So some of that isn't really solidified, though it's inconsistent because it looks like it is. So it's a tricky time, that 10 to 12. Um, there are some kids that are in that 10 to 12 range who kind of behave like they're older teens. And a fun thing that happens during this phase, this 10 to 12 phase, is a surge in selective attention. So, surge in selective attention, such as listening to parents, right? So, this is where we start to see our kids tune out, us mostly. Um, maybe at school too, but mostly at home. Um, and when kids of this age are having challenges, they're often going to have difficulty socially. And that can be because they're having trouble with that flexible part of their language. They're having trouble with anticipating consequences and pros and cons, and kind of just weighing all of that stuff out. So engaging with their peers can sometimes be more challenging, even though they've got the language, like they don't have the executive functions for it. So sometimes we'll see difficulties socially, particularly in groups. Um, Initiating assignments, and when they're doing work, they tend to focus on the less important details first. So they need a little bit of a different kind of support at this stage. But really, what happens is that we don't tend to worry until they become teens, and part of that has to do with the impulsivity control and risk taking that can occur. So the issues, and because there are greater academic demands. So these are two things that sort of illuminate what is happening with that 13 to 18 range. Those um, kids that are really, um, it's deceptive. You're seeing really complex language sometimes, yet under that complex language, there are cognitive skills that are not fully functioning. And so you have a lot of kids who have like a mild, really mild language or social issue that's affecting their executive functioning. It's not diagnosed, it's not something that really gets picked up on anything, but it is a mild issue that affects their ability to read social cues, to see the perspective of others, to complex organization. So this is where it really gets highlighted, in particularly in the school environment. So there's higher academic demands and a requirement for greater organizational skills in order to meet those academic demands, and also a lot more social engagement and interaction, and a web of social things. So when there's a student or a teen that presents with this complex language and maybe a few really strong executive function skills, the other ones tend to fall below. So there can be like holes in things. So this, I just want to say, this isn't all teens, right? Like this is not all teens. Some teens really, their executive functions are strong and solid, and they're able to really shine. And and then there are also teens we need to take into account neurodiversity and teens that have a variety of diagnoses. And I also think it's really important to be looking at their mental wellness and how are teens engaging, particularly right now. And as I'm recording this in 2022, we've been through a rough couple of years. And so, how are the teens doing in terms of like mental wellness, their anxiety levels, their depression levels? Um, all of that interacts with how our executive functioning works. So even kids who are really strong with their executive function skills may have challenges right now. So there's a lot of things to look at. Um, so I also want to say that um, sometimes these kids just need more perspective and more experience in order to hone in the skills. It's not that they need, anything. They don't need to go for big diagnostics or anything like that. Sometimes they just need the experience and the perspective. Sometimes just understanding their own brains. So, what this looks like, what this presents as, is continuing to tune out. Trouble in school. Really, these are the kids that are really struggling in school at this point. They're having trouble with time management. Time management becomes really important in the high school years, and in it's often noticed in like the at home hours when they're trying to complete homework assignments and things like that, and they're losing track of time. They're having trouble maintaining their daily responsibilities, and they're also maybe having difficulties in groups socially. So these are all really big red flags that make it much more obvious in these teen years that don't get picked up in earlier years because they're more subtle. Um, and I think again, what I said before, the biggest piece is the risk-taking behaviors that come in because the executive functioning piece of weighing all those things out is not tuned up, and so the risk-taking behaviors can be um, again, a really big red flag. So, oh, there's so much to say here. um, but I'm going to keep it short. I'll promise to keep these really short. So, if you want to know more, I have a lot of resources in my group. Let me just put the name of it up here, Resilient AF Midlife Mamas. Feel free to jump in to get more resources, to get connected with community of other mamas who are experiencing similar challenges with their kids. Tomorrow, I'm going to address why 18 isn't the magic number. And I'm going to talk about like the 18 to 25 and then some, because I know some of you are going like, well, gosh, I'm 54 and I'm experiencing some of this stuff too. So it's not just our kids, right? Like, and so I will explain some of that tomorrow. We'll go into more. And that's it. Have a great day.